Welcome to TFP, the Theater Folk Podcast, the place to be for drama teachers, drama students, and theater educators everywhere. I'm Lindsay Price, resident playwright for Theater Folk. Hello, I hope you're well. Thanks for listening. Welcome to episode 118. You can find any links for this episode at theaterfolk.com/episode 118. Today we are talking about the Drama Teacher Academy. Why? Because we've reopened the doors to the Drama Teacher Academy. I repeat, we have reopened the doors. The Drama Teacher Academy, you ask? What's that? Where is it? And why were the doors closed in the first place? So here's what we've been doing. So Craig and I, here at Theater Folk, we spent 6 months developing a place for drama teachers that addresses a couple of things. Number one, drama teachers want to do the best for their kids, period. I'll bet you that's your primary goal too. You want to be the best for your kids and you want to give your students the best education. That's why you're a drama teacher. Number two, drama teachers, they kind of have to be wonder teachers, right? You have to know something about all aspects of the theater spectrum. A biology teacher teaches biology. A physics teacher teaches physics. A drama teacher teaches, you know where I'm going, right? It's in your head. I can tell you're thinking about all the things. Right now, I want you to jot down all the different spokes in the wheel that is theater. Go ahead. I'll wait. Actually, I won't wait. Because then the list is long. You can't just say acting, because in acting, there's character development, there's vocal work, there's movement, there's different styles of acting, there's mask, someone has to direct the actors, and what about playwriting, or everything on the tech side, or theater history? If you leave out one of these elements, one of the spokes in the wheel, you could be neglecting a student who loves theater but really wants to write, or someone who loves being in your class but hates being on stage. You can't be a specialist as a drama teacher. You can't be a specialist in the drama classroom. You have to be a generalist. And that's not a bad word, right? A GP is a generalist, right? A general practitioner can't know just one thing. They have to know something about a lot of different areas. Their patients come in with all sorts of ailments. Drama teachers can't just know one thing. Which leads to point number three. Number three, drama teachers have limited access to professional development. To professional development that's for them. Or if they do have access, they have to take PD that doesn't apply to them. English PD. How often does that happen to you? What access do you currently have? What are you doing to become a generalist? What are you doing to learn something in all areas of theater? The Drama Teacher Academy is a professional development website. For a monthly fee, we offer on-demand courses just for drama teachers. That means you don't have to check your schedule to fit in a conference or an out-of-town workshop. You don't have to take another PD training that won't help your students. You can take workshops on your time, on your schedule, and they never go away. Oh, have you taken a workshop and it was wonderful and you remember how all this wonderful stuff that you learned, and then you get home and you look at your notes and you're like, how does that exercise go again? With DTA, you can learn a technique and take it into your class the next day. Load up a video right before class to remind yourself of an exercise. You have the videos to replay over and over again. And if you want to learn in a different way, why not download an MP3 version and listen in your car? Multitasking. So at this exact moment, we have classes in mask, classroom management, playwriting, Shakespeare, building an ensemble, the process of taking a show from audition to curtain call, creating a mission statement for your program, and a wonderful staging course called Big Picture Blocking. But that's not all. We also have a library of lesson plans. We have resource handouts, play guides, exercise sheets. The Drama Teacher Academy provides what you need to give the best to your students. Okay, so that's enough from me. Let's hear from our instructors. We have 3 today. And first I'm going to talk to teacher Amy Pugh Patel, who's going to share her course, Mission Possible, creating a mission statement and a unified vision for your program. And then I'm going to talk to Todd Espeland. He has 2 courses in the DTA already, Friendly Shakespeare and Big Picture Blocking. But he's going to share about an upcoming course called Lavin Advanced Characterization. And lastly, I'm going to talk to educational theater guru, Gai Jones. We're thrilled to include Gai as an instructor for the DTA. And her first course is coming out in just a couple of weeks, Working with Monologues for Rehearsal and Development. Let's start with Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Lindsay. How are you?
I am awesome. How are you?
Good. I'm great.
Awesome. And so, first of all, tell everybody where you are located.
I am in Madison, Alabama, which is the north end of the state. So actually, like within an hour of the Tennessee line.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And how long have you been teaching?
This is my 17th year. I taught for 14 years at one school. I took a year sabbatical, and then I've been at this school this is my 3rd year.
Now, the cool thing about your school is that you were telling me before is that not only have you been 3 years at the school, but when you started, it was a brand spanking new school.
Yes.
What was that like? What was it like to go into a place that no one else has ever been in?
Well, it's exciting because, there's so many possibilities, but it's kind of a little overwhelming too, because you think, okay, we're starting from nothing. We really had a beautiful school and a beautiful space, but our props closet was totally empty, and, learning faculty administration names and then student names too. And we didn't really have much of a system in place yet. We're learning that as we go. One time I talked to my principal and I said it was almost like we were climbing steps as we built the steps up to the next level, and couldn't always see where we were going. But so it was really exciting, but could be a little overwhelming at times too.
A little frazzling, I imagine.
Yeah.
And it must be too, because there's no system in place, it must have felt like everybody's coming from different directions, you don't know where your students are coming from or your administrations are coming from.
Right.
And how did you deal with that?
I really just tried to get to know everybody as quickly as I could. There was a lot of team building. Really in the faculty too. I was really excited about that our administration recognized that we were all coming from different places and we couldn't just expect to step in sync at the same time. We really had to get to know each other. And it was funny because in our faculty meetings, we were doing some of the same things that I do in theater class and when I'm, really team building and getting to know everybody. That was really fun.
So your course is all about mission statements, which I think is it sort of was like kismet that you were in this new situation. There was no groundwork. There was no system in place.
Right.
What a great way to start from scratch. So what made you decide that you were going to start from scratch with using a mission statement?
Yeah. Well, I think if I had stayed at my previous school, I'd never would have been pushed to do a mission statement. And I think if I had gone to a different school that already existed, I probably wouldn't have been pushed to do it. But starting from scratch, I just felt this need. And my husband had just started his own company a year before. And I watched him go through that process. And something about that just really made me recognize how important it was, not just to corporations, but to theater companies. We are called companies after all.
For sure.
And so there are a lot of things that we can borrow and learn from money-making corporations. We can use that in the arts as well without having to become money-making organizations. And, we can still borrow some of the procedures that they have in place. And I think the mission statement was a really powerful one. I'm so glad that I did it.
Well, what is a mission statement? Just for those of people listening, they're going, I have no idea what she's talking about.
Right.
What do you mean I'm going to use the same thing as a business? And it's like, yes, you are. So what is a mission statement?
Yeah, a mission statement, it's really a concise statement, which for lack of another word, it's just a concise verbalization of your organization, what you do, how you do it, and most importantly, why you do it. And every mission statement is a little different. Some of them are really short and some are very long, but they all answer those 3 questions and really just get to the heart of what your company is about. I know when my husband was starting his company, he said he needed to come up with an elevator pitch so that when he met people, he could very quickly explain to them what his company was and what they did and why they did it so that they could latch on to that. If you only had the time that it took to ride in an elevator with someone, what would you share with them so that they know what you're about? And I think a mission statement does that.
You know, too, a lot of drama teachers out there have to build their own curriculums, don't they?
Right.
What a great way to sort of hone in on how you should follow your curriculum with having this overall mission statement as your sort of your guide.
Yes, that's exactly what it does. It kind of clears a little path for you. So you go, oh, I know where we're going now. And your students know it too. And really, the truth is the mission statement itself as a product is incredibly powerful because I, as a teacher, know it. My students know it. I can share it with administration and parents and community. But really, the process that we went through to create the mission statement, it was just transformative. I really think that created our program. Even if we never looked at our mission statement again, the process that we went through itself was so critical to forming our company.
Well, you built a community, didn't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We could really look each other in the eye and know that we were on the same page with each other.
Yeah. What a wonderful thing to put out there. It's like, that's the reason why every drama teacher and all drama programs should have a mission statement, because we talk about community so much on the stage and with each other. What a tangible sort of representation of your community.
Exactly. It is. It's a statement at the end. The students know that they did that together. And it was really the first thing that they created together. Before we created shows, before we created scenes, we created this mission statement, and it meant so much to us. It was really incredible. Very important part of our program.
Will you read yours, please?
Yes. To be or not to be, unexpected, dedicated, inspired, and inspiring. To train our bodies, minds, and voices. To perform multiple productions, from original and modern material to classic plays and musicals. To empower young artists and engage the audience. To engineer imagination and build our community. To be or not to be, we choose to be. James Clemens Theater.
Lovely. I know you.
I love it. It gets me excited. And every time the students say it, there's this energy that's built up. It's like if we need anything to motivate us, we just need to say our mission statement. And it just reminds us once again of what we do and how important it is and how fantastic it is and fun and powerful and all those wonderful things that it is.
Awesome. Okay. So as we wrap up, what are people going to learn? What are drama teachers going to learn specifically when they take your course?
They're going to learn the process, and it's in several chunks, but they will learn the importance of a mission statement and the power that comes from having it. Then they'll learn the questions that you really need to ask yourself and your students. They'll learn the actual writing process of it, and then how to share the statement once they have it. Yes, on Twitter and Facebook, but how else to follow up on the mission statement and make tangible products out of it, so that it becomes an integral part of your program and that the rest of the world can't help but notice it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
All right. So I am now sitting here with Todd Espeland. Hello, Todd. Are you sitting?
I'm sitting.
Okay, good. For all our podcast listeners, we are both sitting. So Todd, I'm really excited, actually. This is really cool because, Todd, we've just finished 2 days of recording your new DTA courses.
2 epic long days.
2 epic long days. And we're going to talk about one of them. We're going to talk about Le Bon Advanced Characterizations. Cool. So first of all, what is Le Bon?
Le Bon is a guy named Rudolf Le Bon, who was a movement theorist and a choreographer and a dancer. And what he did was he categorized human movement into 4 component parts. So human movement is direct or indirect, it's heavy or light, it's quick, meaning there's nothing and then the movement happens and then it goes back to nothing, or sustained, which means it goes and it goes like a helium balloon, never stops floating. Or it has tension, it's bound or free of tension. And then he combined these together and he came up with something called the 8 efforts. And it was primarily used for dancers and dance choreography to break that up and to discover new ways to move or throw ways to move at dancers in choreography. And in the 80s and 90s, movement theater people got a hold of this and started using it to help actors and to help performance.
Well, I could see it being really helpful for actors because it's specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take a character and you go, well, how does this character move?
Well, even more than that, like one of the things I love about it is I can look at other people and start to categorize their movement. I can just observe the movement and categorize their movement. Like I'll put myself on the spot. So I'm kind of naturally a flick, and flicking it's indirect, it's light, it's free, and it's quick. And if you can just hear from my talking, I've kind of got that quality in my voice. And it's really ridiculous, but so if you can look at other people, you can categorize their movement, and then you can do things like you can look at a character in a script and either look at the actions that they have in the script and see their kind of movement quality, or you can look at their text and see how the playwright has specifically written their text with certain vocal rhythms that can then be categorized in certain ways, and then that gives you a way to physicalize that character or text.
And that's what I think is really important here, because in this class, you're not just talking about how a character moves, but how a character sounds, how you can use Laban in their movements, but also by creating a vocal quality.
Yeah, and all of this goes together to help encompass how the character thinks. You know, our outward movement is merely a representation, or we believe our outward movement is a representation of our inner life. Like if you think of a squirrel, when you see squirrels kind of running out, like right now it's autumn and squirrels are running out and they're looking for nuts and they're running around their yard and they're going and they're singing things, and then they look at you and they get all stiff because you walk out, they get all stiff and still. Even though their bodies are completely still, internally you can look in their eyes and see that whole process of them going zzz, and then when you turn away, boom, they go. So it also helps us give us a physical and a vocal quality to play with, and also just a mental place to put our characters' heads.
Absolutely. Okay.
It's to create impulse. It's to help us understand and create impulse in the body and then act on the impulse.
So let's just talk about this word advanced. Now, It's very important that, because this is an advanced class, but we don't want people to be scared by this word. There's a reason this class is called advanced.
Yeah, please don't be scared by it being called Laban advanced characterization. It's advanced because for two reasons. One is, I think you can take this class and thread this entire class through an entire semester or even year of work. It's about 60 hours of work for you and your students to explore and play in. You can do this with beginning actors, all right? It can be done with beginning actors. What makes it advanced is just the time that we're putting in to explore the Laban efforts. Within that, the students are going to be exploring the Laban efforts through monologues, and if you want, you can adapt it into scenes. The capstone of the class that also makes it advanced is you're going to have your students create an extended character. So it's in two parts. One part is all of the lessons that you can cover in class and break apart and use and explore through monologues or scenes. The second part are things that the students are going to do on their own. The capstone of the class is an extended character assignment. The students are going to observe an individual in life, break down through these Laban efforts that person's movement, and just observe them and observe their bodily behaviors. And then they're going to use that person and their imagination to create an original character based on their observation. That original character will get brought in a couple of times for the students and teacher to observe and give feedback on and see how the work is going. The end of it is going to be a big, long improv with the students coming in with their extended character that they've created from their observation and their imagination that is going to get performed, an improv where they come in costume, in character, and are their character for an extended period of time with all these other characters. So it's a big core. Yeah, it's a lot. And the other reason why it's advanced is I'm trying to give you tools to use as an instructor, but I want you to also adapt those tools. I'm looking at this, and some of the lessons are about using it in interfacing with a monologue that your students will do. But heck, you could have your students do a monologue and a scene, or a monologue and two scenes. It's really adaptable.
Yeah, so I just want to reiterate that. 60 hours of work, and not only just 60 hours of work, but 60 hours of specific work. So if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, and I think everybody should be looking for these kinds of tools and these kinds of exercises that they can pass on to their students.
Can I also say, too,
you bet.
Yes, it's 60 hours of stuff. It's 60 hours of work. But don't feel like because, oh my gosh, it's 60 hours of work. Now, if I take it, I have to do 60 hours of work. No. You can also take this class, listen to it, and pull elements of Laban out and some of the exercises I'm doing. I mean, it's really here for you to adapt. However, the 60 hours or all of the lessons I have and the time that's involved, it's really there to provide you with a process for your students. But don't also feel like, oh my gosh, I got to now take advantage of the 60 hours. It's a series of discrete lessons that you can also pull out and adapt and work into your process. But what I'm trying to do is give you a whole process that you can string through.
Awesome. So that's a little teaser of an upcoming course.
Yeah.
Laban, Advanced Characters. It makes me want to get into a class. It actually makes me want to act, which is something that I have a vast dislike of. It makes me want to create a character and give them a specific effort. So Todd, you've made me do something I don't want to do.
Awesome. Yay!
Thank you very much. All right, so I am very excited to be talking to Gai Jones. Hello, Gai.
Hi, Lindsay.
How are you today?
Wonderful from Ojai, California. I appreciate being able to talk with everybody.
Well, the reason we're here and we're talking because you are one of our new instructors for the Drama Teacher Academy. What is the name of the course that you are teaching for us?
It is working with monologues, creating and devising monologues for rehearsal and performance.
Okay. So why is it important for teachers to include monologues in their curriculum, do you think?
I think sequentially it's an obvious choice in the sense of the student usually begins with mime and movement, moves to voice development, and actually I start with creativity and mastering stage fright and developing uniquenesses in themselves, but then you go to mime and movement, then you go vocal, and improvisation, and with all that creativity going along, I really believe in then letting the student become engaged in the monologue process. So I think for me, monologue is probably about the fourth or fifth step after ensemble work with the whole group. And then monologue, even though it's a kind of a solo acting process, there's a way to implement within a classroom. So what I'm presenting is the students' work and the teachers directing the students so that they can work individually. And then at the end of the course, I talk about how to implement it when you have a classroom full of 45 engaged, wonderful, enthusiastic students, or not so enthusiastic students. Anyway.
And now there's a couple of things that you talk about in your course that I think would be really great to just put out there. You talk about two specific things, creative inquiry and reflective inquiry. What are these? Why these?
Well, first of all, I have to learn how you say it. Creative inquiry. I can't do it that way. Okay, creative inquiry and reflective inquiry. Reflection brings the student or the actor, which I call any actor as a student of the art, to engage himself creatively in the sense of imagining answers, giving input with thoughts and feelings. That's creative input. Reflective may be a recall. With Bloom's taxonomy, there's a lot about knowledge and also analysis. Well, that's the reflection. I may present something and then ask the student to reflect on what I've presented by rephrasing it, by applying it to themselves, but they basically reflect what's being taught, or they reflect something from their own memory, or they reflect a conversation they heard. So they hear something, they reflect it. Then from that point, they may take it into what I call creative inquiry and say, well, how can I develop this creatively? And I think for a monologuist, particularly the one who writes your own original monologues, and I know Lindsay and Craig, you do that quite well, is that the student can have something based on a reflection and then develop it into a creative, imaginative way. So it's still based on reality, but taken in another direction. So I think it's a kind of a marriage of the left and right brain and logic. Left brain is being the reflective and the right brain being the creative.
I think that's great. A great way to sort of approach a monologue instead of just going into a classroom and saying, okay, here you go, learn your lines, throw some blocking up, and then you're going to present. And if a student doesn't know how to approach a monologue, this gives them some tools.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think also it will engage them to a more organic approach to it. I know I've seen monologues in which they've been obviously well-directed, stand center stage, 1/4 right on this line, across down right. This one is an organic approach in the reflection and the creativity because they engage as the character might think or feel in their creative approach. So I really like the organic. Now, that's not to say the student just wanders around while doing a monologue. I think then it becomes set and it becomes very familiar to the character on how he or she wants to move on a certain feeling. But it becomes much more of a process than it is a guided project.
Yeah, and I think that's great for the classroom. Now, you talked a little bit right there about a character and how they're thinking and feeling. One thing that you spend a lot of time in this course on is, I believe there's a lesson called Keeping It Real, which is the kind of the opposite of indicating. And I know I have, when you see high school students and middle school students in doing monologue competitions where they're just they're not really connected. They're just sort of, well, this is what somebody looks like when they're sad, so I'll just pretend that. You must see a lot of that.
I do. As a matter of fact, my master's thesis was oral interpretation of literature done from the elocution period to now. And elocution was wonderful at the time, in which there were prescribed movements, placing your hand to your forehead with your palm facing towards the sun, your elbows akimbo, one hand on your hip, looking forward and up will generate the feeling of pride. Okay, so that's elocution, that's outside in. And then I think thank goodness over the centuries and the 20th century, we've developed obviously to the other side with method, but the more organic in which the feeling guides the movement, guides the facial expression, guides the hand gestures. So indicating to me is not really being connected to the text. Sometimes this happens when you've rehearsed the monologue over and over and over again and you just go through the steps. But once you're into an audition or once you're into the performance aspect of a monologue, I think the actor needs to pretend as if those lines have never been said. I know the actor knows how it's going to end, but the character doesn't know how the monologue's going to end. He doesn't know whether he achieves his objective or not. And so I think by guiding the student to feel the emotion moment by moment and not play the end of the monologue or scene, but play just the moment until he's moved to move on to something else is very important. So indicating to me is probably the death of realism in monologue.
That is a statement. I love that. And nobody can see this, but I can see Gai. And she was doing the demonstration of the hand on the forehead with the palm to the sun. And I can find a picture of that, of a classic elocution. I'm putting it in the show notes. Okay. As we end up here, a really good thing for students to do is to kind of, when they look at their monologue, to figure out what their given circumstances are. What's a good exercise for students to use when they're looking at their monologue there for the first time?
One of my favorites, which I developed after working with improvisation loves crow, C-R-O-W. I developed the C-wow, which students can remember. They look at it from the character. Who is the character? Who are you going to be? And then I get into an interview process as the character. How old are you? How do you feel about whatever's going on? Where are you? Etc. So the first C is character. Who are you? The W, C-wow. The W can either be to whom are you speaking. I like to do where. So I'm going to put the character, where are you? And it's very specific, not just at school. It's my character is right outside my locker, and I just dropped all my books because I opened the locker door and everything fell out. That's a very specific where. The objective is O. And the objective may be, I want to be the coolest kid in this school. It's my first day. I want to be so cool because I was so popular in elementary school. So my objective is that I want everyone to look at me and say, oh my gosh, how cool she is. That's my objective. I want to feel included. I want to be the leader. The second W can be to whom am I speaking? And the monologue could change. It could be I could be talking to myself on my first line. There's a moment before that probably something happened, that someone said something to me, or I did something, or they did something to me that causes me to speak. So I might be speaking to an implied other, a person that's invisible in the monologue. But in my mind, the person is real because the person just said something to me. And then I could change and I could be talking to myself. There may be what I call a plea to the heavens every once in a while. Oh, please let me be okay. So the last W I like to do is whom or to whom. So first C is character, second one is where, the W is where, the O is objective, and the last W is to whom, or to whom are you speaking. It's kind of like an acronym that everybody can approach. It works in improv, it works in pantomime performance, it works everywhere. So I like that a lot.
Awesome. Okay, so that is Working with Monologues in Rehearsal and Performance, an upcoming course on the Drama Teacher Academy with the wonderful and amazing Gai Jones. I have to say, we are pleased as punch that, Gai, you have decided to teach a course with us because we think it's a real wonderful thing to share your knowledge with our members. And for those of you out there who are going, who's Gai Jones? First of all, you should know GaiJones.com is her website. And how many years did you teach in schools?
I taught 38 years, and then I'm continuing because now I freelance. So I'm teaching at a couple of universities, actually one university, 2 community colleges in California. And then I freelance. I go into a charter school and a high school and teach at the Equity Theater down the road. So the nice thing, there is life after retirement in the theater education. It's called Encore Career. You get to create your own career, and it's just the best of all worlds because you do have flexibility. So that's what I do. So I think I'm going on 50 years because I started really young, 50 years of teaching theater.
Awesome. I love that. Encore, an Encore career. Maybe we all have one, right?
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, Gai.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy, Todd, and Gai, for talking to me today. And if what Amy, Todd, and Gai have talked about interests you, if it's going to help you give the best to your kids, come and join us in the Drama Teacher Academy. So go to dramateacheracademy.com. You can also find the link in the show notes for this episode, theaterfolk.com/episode 118. Check out the website, kick the tires, read testimonials from existing members, check out the courses. You can watch a couple of modules from each course to see exactly what you're going to get when you join. Look through the lesson plan library. We want you to see exactly what you're getting when you join. So again, that's Drama Teacher Academy, all one word, .com. DramaTeacherAcademy.com. Finally, where can you find this podcast? We post new episodes every Tuesday at theaterfolk.com and on our Facebook page and Twitter. You can find us on youtube.com/theaterfolk, and you can find us on the Stitcher app. You can also subscribe to TFP on iTunes. All you have to do is search for the word Theaterfolk. And that's where we're going to end. Take care, my friends. Take care.